what is the news here? How does this differ from what we reported back in the fall?
Well, the news is that it's just, ramping up further, and they're getting closer to executing. Amazon looking at making deliveries on behalf of its merchants, and a big thing here is Amazon making deliveries from the warehouses owned by their merchants, not just their own warehouses, which they have been experimenting with this service Amazon Flex, which is kind of like an Uber app type thing where people with some spare time in their own vehicle can make deliveries for Amazon. The big thing here is Amazon making deliveries from other warehouses other than their own.
So is this last mile delivery we're talking about here, or is this the stuff that we were just showing one of the Amazon rented planes, what they've contracted, 34 planes, I think. Is this last mile or is it first mile?
Yeah, last mile, and that's the big thing. Is like last mile is the most visible, right? Everyone's used to seeing the mail truck come through your neighborhood, seeing the big brown UPS truck through your neighborhood. Amazon is already heavily into logistics. It's got warehouses all over the country. It does third-party logistics services for its merchants already, has been for years. This is just the most visible form of logistics, which is the last mile, the to your doorstep delivery.
Jitendra, you have this really fantastic report from Bloomberg Intelligence that talked about what Amazon might look like in 2020. And one of the predictions you had, we were talking, you and I were, I can't remember if we talked about it in the air or just talking amongst ourselves, as we tend to do, about the global need for shipping in Amazon is greater than anyone can handle. They couldn't buy a FedEx and have everything they need. They couldn't buy a UPS and have whatever they need because nothing is big enough.
Yeah, so if you look at their shipping cost and sort of our projection through 2025, it should be upwards of $60 billion.
$60 billion
by 2025, if they hit their $1 trillion gross revenue mark, which is very feasible. Now, what that entails is the investments in logistics have to go up to scale the business. But if you look at this news report, what this is geared towards.
So let's get some context here. UPS had $102 billion in revenue in the last year. So they would be 2/3 of that, basically.
So exactly. I mean, like, you have to think about how much of the shipping cost basically is increasing and how much they need to scale that to scale the revenues. So it's inevitable. But if you look at this news story, what's interesting is because third-party services account for more than half of Amazon's gross sales, right, this is the missing piece. When you sign up for an FBA program to let Amazon handle all your e-commerce need, shipping is the only element that they don't have right now. They rely on UPS.
So Amazon will list your product, Amazon will sell the product, Amazon will handle the credit card transaction, Amazon will arrange for someone else to ship it.
And the warehousing as well.
Right.
So now this sort of connects the whole equation. So this becomes a one-stop solution. And because third-party services is the bigger part of the revenue engine, looking forward, this sort of makes it easier to attract more third-party services.
Spencer, it seems to me that Amazon Web Services is a model here because Web Services started with Amazon's need for sort of peak capacity of computing that they didn't really need most of the year. They thought, well, why not just sell it to other people and rent it to other people, and all of a sudden that Web Services is born and it becomes their second largest business. You can sort of see how they might look at shipping the same way. They need to have a lot of planes in December. They might not need so many in June, so they can rent out that extra capacity in June.
Yeah, they definitely need the capacity. Another thing to consider here, which makes Amazon very uncomfortable, is that there's a shipping duopoly. It's UPS and FedEx, and if they are too dependent on them, those companies have tremendous pricing power over Amazon. And so the best defense against that is to vertically integrate, is to try to do that on your own. And a big tie-in with this too is their grocery push. The big thing that groceries bring to the table is frequency. It's something people buy regularly. And so if Amazon can just establish this volume, delivery volume around grocery, even if they're not making money, that's a good way for them to load extra things into the basket, extra things onto those trucks that are delivering groceries that are higher margin.
Jitendra, do you think that this is going to be something that will end up being global for them?
Actually, internationally, they are stronger in handling their own shipping. If you look at India, for example, I think it'll be big in supporting the FBA program and third-party services growth more than it'll be as a standalone service. For the whole equation to make money profitably, it'll be very hard for them to reach scale like UPS and FedEx to pull it off profitably. But if they marry it with FBA services, marry it with third-party merchants. fulfillment by Amazon services,
Right.
married by the third-party sellers that are selling on Amazon and they collect seller fees, then the equation starts making more sense. So I think it'll be sort of...
So for the third-party stuff that they're shipping, they won't just do shipping to Amazon customers. They'll do shipping to wherever those third parties want to sell their stuff.
Yes.